Guys, and welcome back. And for the first time to Evolution on the Rocks, I, as well as these lovely people, are your hosts. I'm Alyssa.
I'm
I'm
Justin.
Beatrice.
Woo.
And
Becca.
I'm Becca.
Okay, and today we are going to be talking about Joseph L. Graves Jr. He is an associate dean for research and a professor of biological sciences with a PhD in environmental, evolutionary, and systematic biology, as well as being the first African American to earn said degree.
Yeah, so he's actually a professor of biology at North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. And I believe he is a tenured professor. Um, let's see. So we should probably reflect on his readings. What do you guys think of his readings?
As in like the books he's written?
Articles. Yes, yes.
Um they're definitely informative. They weren't, at least like Into the Belly of the Beast wasn't what I was expecting. I didn't realize that
Yeah.
it was a like op-ed on the like social side of the scientific field. I thought it was going to be I don't know why, but I thought it was going to be like a scientific article about like one
Yeah,
of the
like
subjects
based
that
on
he is specializes in or something.
I
Um
definitely agree on that. I definitely expected a lot of like analytical research, or I don't know what I expected, but
yeah.
you know what? Some of the information here is new to me. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah, given his background and just everything he's accomplished, just if you look at everything, he's a joint school of nanosciences and nanoengineering. I just
mhm.
from that little excerpt I read, I was definitely on the side of like, okay, this is going to be another informational journal or just on some
Mhm.
type of experimentation or and whatnot. And so when I read this, I initially was just like, oh, this is kind of like um a how-to on how to get how to get tenure on a PhD.
Pretty
Mhm.
much, yeah.
I
Like
was
it
Yeah,
reading
was,
more for
definitely.
the
yeah.
bibliography, and it's like, yeah, like I didn't like my ears during this time. I thought it's very different. Yeah, like as everyone else is.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's like,
I
here's
Well,
how
mean,
I did
Yeah.
it, and I didn't like
yeah,
it. Here's how to avoid it, and how to
yeah,
better.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of people did go through what he went through at that time, and
mhm.
maybe to this day. So he did want to shed light on like his experience, and I understand that for sure. And I mean, this Belly of the Beast article or book is definitely informative on how to deal with that.
Mhm. Definitely.
I guess
Um
just a gap between like looking at a CV. I mean, if we look at it like very just briefly, just kind of go over it, like
mhm.
the fellowships and scholarships he's done from like 1973 to like 1989. I mean, he's done a lot, and even his like professional appointments. He was like an
Yeah.
interim dean at like nanoscience,
Mhm.
professor of biology sciences at a few different like schools, and then it's you read this and
He essentially just gave us a how-to on how to do what he did, and then how to do it in even a better way.
mhm.
Yeah.
But it also kind of shows like his research on, because in the first figure of Belly of the Beast, figure
Mhm.
one,
Figure 1.
it shows that there's like this graph, and it says that the top 50 research universities found that only 1% of the faculty members in these departments were Black.
Okay.
And I mean,
Yeah.
number wise, he definitely did his research, but I am kind of curious how this graph would skew if you added white people into this graph specifically. I feel like it
What
would skew pretty good.
I'm
well, and
also
what
very
bothered me about this whole figure that he has is that he's claiming that this graph is like a good example or like a good depiction of like how racism affected
mhm.
like the percentage of people getting in. And if the whole premise of racism is like actually judging people on the color of their skin, which to my
Mm-hmm.
knowledge that's what I consider it to
Oh
be,
yeah, that is
he
Mm-hmm.
he literally says in that paragraph this figure is an overestimate of African American representation in the scientific professorate because people who are African or Caribbean immigrants like don't count. And I'm like,
Oh,
but if they have the
interesting.
same skin tone, wouldn't they be equally oppressed? somehow the
true.
foreigners are doing better than the native blacks. And so I was like, that's kind of like self-contradicting. Like, that's weird. But yeah, it's
I
just
do agree.
like if the
Yeah.
whole problem is racism, like I think the problem would be racism, not just racism of American blacks.
Well, he
Because
also
like,
did implement like the mental health over here. Like at least the
yeah,
mental thing, or I mean, he went through a lot during his degree and stuff. So I guess that kind of carried over to him, like when he was
yeah,
writing this book.
mm-hmm,
You know, especially about his like struggle with mental health, and you know, I mean, it's tough. I mean, you never really get out of that mental mindset. I mean, can you imagine getting like working towards your PhD? I mean, it's 8 years of your life or like longer.
mm-hmm,
And if you're always just like facing against people that are just like horrible like human beings to you as you're trying to get a degree in this like field you love, of course it's going to carry over, and it shows it in his book.
Mental health is a huge struggle in the world of academia, and just regardless of whatever major you are, but I will emphasize in STEM majors.
oh gosh, yes, please do.
Oh yeah.
Yes, definitely. We've all been through it.
Yeah,
I'm sure
are
we have.
really
That's
all
so
going through it because it's just all of us are just extremely burnt out at one point or another
Mm-hmm,
repeatedly throughout X amount of years or X amount of semesters. Um, and
Yeah.
it's just an ongoing battle with everything,
Right.
and I actually appreciated the advice or the guide regarding his written and quote unquote unwritten rules. And in this section, at least in my opinion, made Dr. Graves more personable and almost more understanding rather than just
Right.
you can
I
actually.
definitely relate to him just
Mhm.
because, as an immigrant who moved here in the Philippines, no one really talks about mental health, and going to therapy is not
yes, that's like
normal
outside of
at
the United
all.
States and like Europe, like they're just like suck it up, cupcake. Like it's not a thing.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
exactly. Like I have not seen a therapist there ever,
Mm-hmm,
but definitely I definitely appreciate his take on mental health and what he went through. I feel like that made him a little more relatable.
yeah,
Right. And then just in my experience, like I'm also a person of color, like I'm a Mexican and I'm in STEM. And then not only that, but I'm also a woman. So
mm-hmm,
a woman in STEM, like not only that, it's just um I want to bring it back to the graph and everything. I'm also very curious like how these results would skew and how they would change depending like if you added a few more years and everything, if
mm-hmm,
you got more data within this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I
yeah.
And
feel like he also left out like the genders of here. Like if you really look at it, it's just
Yeah.
yeah.
black, but like what's the
Well,
percentage of
and like the
women?
other graph he has is
You know?
year versus black, year versus Asian Pacific Islander, and year versus Hispanic. But yeah, no gender. And
Yeah,
white
no
is not
gender. So
included.
it's like, what would that look like if it was like a woman in PhD? Is like, who was the first like black woman to get a PhD? He doesn't really mention gender. It's more about like racism and like you know all the struggles he went through and stuff. But like,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I just think it's an interesting thing to leave out of a book that's like kind of gender, like that's racism based and all these injustices, but leave out gender.
Overall, I'd
And
say it's interesting. It's an
yeah,
interesting
for
take.
sure. It's definitely interesting. I know we touched on unwritten rules. So what do you think Dr. Graves mean by unwritten rules, and what are your reactions or opinions about these?
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk about this. If you go to 178 over
Oh
here,
yeah, let's see. Let's go.
it's unwritten rule number 5. The first sentence is keep your personal and like professional life separate. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's something very interesting, and it also
Good
goes
advice.
in your university affairs, maintain the highest ethical standards.
Mm-hmm.
Which, and then of course he touches up on male and female, like the genders a little bit here. It says
Sure.
the university may accept white male or female professors dating their graduate students, but it is highly unlikely that it will accept you're doing in that. And I guess I don't. That's obviously not relevant now because if any professor gets caught with like a student,
Yeah.
it's over.
Yeah.
But it's I
And speaking of like the unwritten rules and what like the numbers, like number one, just to go back to the whole gender thing, it's just rule number one. It was just like it says know who the big
176.
men are in your field, and he quotes, and I do mean men. So it's just like another like
Yeah.
thing on top. It's like okay, even then, like especially then
Yeah.
when dominating the academic field or just in any field in particular. So the fact that
Exactly.
yeah, so the fact that women are studying and everything nowadays, it's a triumph in itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, we're hitting our limit for the night, so we will have to cut it short. But yeah, overall, I think it's a interesting topic that he talked about. It wasn't what I was expecting in like a scientific book, but it was definitely like educational. From a
Interesting is definitely the word.
Mhm.
I did learn a lot though, and I definitely appreciate his research and what he's been through and him sharing it with us.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think it's interesting too. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for listening in. Have a good day or good evening or good night, whatever time it is.
Whenever and where.
Till next time, evolutionary. What is
Evolution on the Rocks.
Evolution on the
Yeah, there you
Rocks.
go.
We'll see you later.
See
Yeah.
ya.
Toodles.
Bye.